Hi friends, very good afternoon. Yes ma'am. Welcome back to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English with India's largest learning platform, Unacademy. Let's crack it. Friends, please drop a confirmation message. Is everything is good to go? Am I visible? Am I audible? Is things are clear? Yes. After a break, of course, after the Diwali holidays, we are meeting again with the class. So it's really high time. Prelims is fast approaching. Your target year prelims is fast approaching. In between 2020 mains is also fast approaching. So it's really high time for you to work for your dream. Okay, fine. So let us begin without any further delay. Yes, ma'am. What all you will get under Unacademy platform? Needless to say, daily live classes, isn't it? Every day, sharp 2 p.m. on YouTube platform. What is the best part of it? You can chat with your educator, engage in discussion, ask your doubts and answer polls all while the class is going on, isn't it? Live test and quiz. Yes, even today at the end of today's class, we have a live quiz on ecology and environment. So the ultimate preparation strategy is that you have to get exposed to as many questions as possible. So don't miss the live quiz. Of course, the format is that you have to attend the quiz. But I'll share the code. I have already shared the code and link in DL Ma'am Telegram group. Again, here I will share the code. Log into the code, use the code and just log in and start attending the quizzes. Of course, it's an ultimate revision strategy. Don't ever miss that. Okay. More volume, please, ma'am. I think is everything is fine. Volume is fine. Yes or no, ma'am? Yes or no? I think please refresh your page, ma'am. Yes, very good afternoon. Please drop a confirmation message. Yes. So structured courses. All our courses are so structured in line with your exam syllabus in order to help you best prepare for it. Isn't it? It is OSS for your PMI. One-stop solution for your prelim, mains and interview. Unlimited access to unlimited courses. One subscription gets you access to all our live and recorded courses to watch from the comfort of any of your devices, for which you have to download Unacademy Learning app. Yes, this is me, your DL ma'am. I'm Dhanalakshmi, senior, top and a very passionate educator. Yes, my dear friends, my journey with UPSC is more than 15 years. I have stepped into civil service preparation on 2004. Of course, I'm a Vajram student. Okay, yes, with more than decade-long rich experience in teaching. Please, Solarajan, I think I'm fine from my end. You have to check your hand. I can't shout beyond this. Already I'm speaking at the top of my voice. Please. Fine. So with more than decade-long rich experience in teaching for UPSC CSE category, of course, I'm taking classes across India. 15 years rich experience in this field. My credentials specific to civil service. Yes, I have appeared twice in UPSC CSE interview with 6 consecutive mains. Yes, 2017 interview, All India topper, 6 consecutive mains. It gives an idea about how I cleared 6 times prelims continuously. Apart from a unique style of teaching, of course, I'm well known for my unique style of mentoring. I have mentored more than 25,000 aspirants over a period of last 12 years. I haven't stopped just by mentoring. I have hence proved, yes, I have produced the result by bringing the toppers, All India rank 38, 84, many ranks I have produced, and many of my students are effectively and efficiently working as an IAS and IPS officers across India. So you can reach your DL ma'am using this code DL10. Yes, my dear friends, I have also shared my Telegram link and I have shared my Unacademy profile link as well. Prepare with the top educators. Indeed is a blessing, isn't it? All the best brains are found under one roof, and needless to say, that roof is Unacademy. To name a few, Mrinal Sir, Roman Saini, Ayush Shangi, Sudarshan Gurjar, the list is endless. Utilize the platform to its fullest. Comprehensive syllabus. Yes, here again we have closer to 16K courses for UPSC CSE category, isn't it? Yes, my dear friends. So very confidently, I could say that this is OSS for your PMI. For all the phases, for prelim, mains and interview, as well as for all the subjects, we provide you ample amount of courses. Yes, utilize the platform to its fullest. One subscription, unlimited benefit. Are they doing unlimited benefit? Yes or no, ma? Learn live from the comfort of your home. Unlimited access to all courses. top educators of India on one platform. Yes, all the best brains, all the best subject experts, so you're getting under one roof. That roof is needless to say an academy. Exhaustive coverage of syllabus. Yes, regular doubt clearing session, live test series, study material at the end of each class, answer writing sessions. Yes, this is I'm focusing more on each and every class of mine in special platform. So nowadays all classes of mine is being followed by test, isn't it? Answer writing, mentoring and guidance. So in one shot I could say that this, when you have enormous amount of benefits, I don't know what is stopping you to take the subscription, because it's really high time to take the subscription. So stop thinking, start working on it. Yes, ma'am, something less than 24 months, it is only a half a way. So it is always best to go for the best decision. The wise decision is 24 months on two aspects. One is that minimum time frame required for one to get prepared for the civil service exam, and another one is huge monetary benefit. For entire 24 months, by using my code DL10, you have to pay only 64,800, because you get 10% instant discount. And for 36 months, you have to pay only 81,000 after using my code DL10. Here again, you have a 10% discount, and also the company is providing you a no cost EMI option. Yes. So iconic subscription, here again for 24 months you have to pay 96,300 by using my code DL10, and for 36 months you have to pay 1,26,900. What is this difference between iconic and plasma? Simple. Plus you get access to attend the classes. Iconic, somebody will be backing you. Yes, somebody will help you, shoulder to shoulder help. Who is that somebody? That person is a one who has an enormous amount of experience in this field. Nothing than a senior, mentor, isn't it? Yes. So you will be given a personal coach, individual attention. You will be are you ready to write the mains question and answers on a daily basis? Yes, we are ready to give you the feedback on daily basis as well. So customized study plan, personalized feedback, everything in one. That is, of course, under iconic subscription. Mentoring is nothing but a brain to pick, and ear to listen. Somebody is ready to listen to your problems, listen to your queries, listen to your difficulties, and they are not only they'll just listen and move, they are ready to push you in the right direction by resolving, by helping you how to get rid of the problems you're overcoming, isn't it? Yes, ma'am. So mentors are all around us, who makes you feel confident, inspired, focused, and willing to share their experience, isn't it? Yes or no? At every stage of the life, we would have one mentor. During our school days, college days, yes, at workstation. So this is the field, definitely it is in need of a mentor who greatly help you in minimizing your mistakes and maximizing your success. Yes, successful people never reach their goals alone. So irrespective of the starting point, you can start the journey at any point of India. Yes. Anyway, irrespective of the starting point, you should stop only at the doorsteps of Labas. Now, how it is possible? It is very much possible if you prepared yourself that you are going to board into the bus which will stop only at the doorsteps of Labasna, which is nothing but there shouldn't be any stoppage or deviation or distractions, okay, in between. So it solely lies in your hands. Here somebody has got to say you what to do, what not to do, and how to do, okay. Yes, thus I become a mentor because I wanted to give the thing I didn't realize is how much I would get. So thank you. I wish all of you not to just see as good enough. Better, I want you to see as the best administrator, successful candidates. Yes, who cleared the civil service exam with the flying colors as a top rankers. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for letting me to do this. Colonization and imperialism. Of course, today is the last class. We had a wonderful class earlier. We have discussed all the part. What is the difference between imperialism, colonialism, and imperialism? So please go and check the previous videos. Okay. And next is which motivates everything. The differences we have discussed already. So this one class I have done causes of imperialism, economic interest, political results, imperialism in India. So how it open door policy, a very good interesting story we had, how the China is cut into as a Chinese melon. It is shared between other imperialist nation. Me too. Open door policy, sphere of influence. Can you see the Chinese melon? It has been chopped into pieces and it has been distributed among the other imperialist nations like Russia, Germany, Britain, France. Okay, and who's asking for the slides? Yes, ma. Very good afternoon. Who is asking for the slides? Hey, where is my piece? Okay, me too. Give me share. Where is my pay? Where is my slides? This is a question raised by the great so-called USA, isn't it? And so we have already discussed in detail what is this opium war, imperialism, how does it spread to Southeastern Asia. All these things already have covered in last two sessions. So today is that scramble for Africa, like an egg scramble. Africa has been scrambled into pieces. Of course, it has been shared. Now, America began to imperialize. Yes, three reasons for American imperialism. And today we will be discussing about the effects of imperialism. Isn't it, ma? This is all we have completed, Age of Imperialism. Now, the last class today is a short class. Of course, we'll be doing it, the effects of imperialism. Okay, is this fine? Hope you know the story. Anyhow, I have done a quick recap. Imperialism in the Middle East, all is over. I have done consequences of imperialism. Today topic is consequences of imperialism. Can I begin, ma? Yes, Jyoti, very good afternoon. Chandu, good afternoon. Solarajan, please check from your end, ma. Once again, I'll ask this question. Am I visible? Am I audible? Because I can't shout more than this. Of course, already I'm talking at the peak of my voice. Next. Consequences, effects of imperialism. The new imperialism changed both the Western society and its colonies. Through it, Western countries established the beginning of a global economy in which the transfer of goods, money, technology needed to be regulated in an orderly way to ensure a continuous flow of natural resources and cheap labor for the industrialized world. Okay. How does imperialism adversely affected the colonies? Did it affect the colonies or not? Yes. Under the foreign rule, the native culture and industry were destroyed. Just think of India. What has happened to our culture? Erosion of our culture, erosion of our industry, traditional industries, because we have been pushed to grow only the cash crops, isn't it? Isn't it? So imported goods wiped out the local craft industries. By using colonies as a source of raw materials and market for manufactured goods, colonial powers held back the colonies for developing industries. Yes, so the colonial power held back the colonies. So the colonial powers are only increasing, whereas the colonies are facing a huge loss because of this imperialist nations. One reason why the standard of living was so poor in many of these countries was that the natural wealth of these regions had been funneled to the mother countries. It is not that the colonies are deficient of resources. No, just think of Africa. Though it has been called as a dark continent, but it is rich of enormous amount of resources and the wealth. The problem lies is that there was not a proper exploitation or extraction of the resources for the country, whereas the metropolis, the imperialistic countries have been utilized or benefit because of the colonies, whereas the colonies have in no way they got benefited. Okay, so it is a sad thing here. Imperialism also brought a confrontation between the culture. By 1900, Western nation had control over most of the globe. Europeans were convinced that they had superior culture and forced the people to accept the modern or Western ways. Did we discuss in last class now white man burden? Yes or no? What is the European nations? What is the European peoples they have in their mind? According to the poem of Rudyard Kipling, they thought that it is a white man burden to civilize. They feel they are superior and they have the due responsibility to civilize the inferior, the blacks. Actually, that is not right, but it is their view. Okay. The pressure to westernize forced the colonial people to re-evaluate their tradition and to work at discouraging such customs as food binding in China and sati in India. Although imperialism exploited and abused the colonial power, Western countries introduced the modern medicine that stressed the use of vaccine and more sanitary hygiene that helped to save lives and increase the life expectancy. This is very clear. We can't completely say that there is not even one good. Of course, there are many negatives, but one good is that the Western countries, the Westernization, they emphasis more on modern medicine. They were stressing more for the usage of vaccine because that was the time, like now how we are struggling under the corona. Still now we can't find the vaccination, isn't it? But that was the time they were prone to many kind of diseases, epidemic diseases. So they insisted on modern medicine and stressed on the use of vaccines and more sanitary hygiene that help to save lives and increase the life expectancy. Imperialism created many political problems. Does they create the political problem or not? Yes. What are they? European nation disrupted many traditional political units and united rival people under a single government that tried to impose the stability and order where local conflicts had existed for years, such as in Nigeria and Rwanda. So they have started promoting more of internal conflicts. Okay. Ethnic conflicts that developed in later half of the 20th century in many of these areas can be traced to these imperial policies. Now you know why there was so much of ethnic conflicts later half of the 20th century. It is a cause of the metropolitan nations. Of course, the metropolitan countries, the mother countries, because they wanted to create the political instability in order to extend their rule over there. Imperialism also contributed to tension among the Western powers. Rivalries, of course, now the huge competition has come, isn't it? Rivalries between the France and the Great Britain over Sudan, between France and Germany over Morocco. So just now, France is turning against Great Britain for what? On the capture of Sudan. Are you getting it, ma? Now other group. Now France is against Germany. Why? Against the capture over the Morocco region. Are you getting it? And over the Ottoman Empire contributed to the hostile conditions that led to the First World War in 1914. So now the rivalry started among the imperialist nation because every imperialist nation wanted to extend their power. They are not happy, they are not satisfied with the colonies. They wanted to expand more colonies under their control because they thought that as a prestige and power for each imperialist nations. Okay. The European countries are being the birthplace of industrial revolution, isn't it? Yes, we know. Then, but this also has created this ugly version called imperialism. In this, the mother country would dominate the colony politically and economically for its own advantage, for the advantage of the mother country metropolis, not for the advantage of the colonies. This point you have to bring in your exam. Try to insist this point. And this was possible because of the absence of unity, prosperity in the countries. Where? Absence of unity and prosperity in the mother country or in the colonies. In the colonies, there was a political instability. There was an absence of unity. When there is a unity, can outside people, can they come and divide us? Just remember, if there is a lack of unity between the brothers, then only the third party will come and mediate and they will inflate the issue. If the brothers are so bonding, so united, how can the rift can happen? The similar way, there was so much of internal confusions and conflicts in these colonies, which has led the way this disadvantage has been taken as an advantage by the metropolis, by the imperialist nations. Okay. So this was possible because of the absence of unity and prosperity in these countries, that is in the colonies. Demand created by industrial revolution. What is the role of industrial revolution in the effects of imperialism? Okay, the industrial revolution of course created a capitalistic class that produced goods for earning profit. Yes, which has set the base for capitalistic mode of production. What is an objective of the capitalist? Are they a socialist? No. What they want? They wanted to produce more and more and goods by giving less wages. Yes or no? More goods. At the same time, they want more profit, but they are not ready to pay the wages at the cheap wages, isn't it? The main objective of the production is earning as much as profit as possible. For this, the capitalists could reduce the wages or increase the production. Are you getting the idea, ma? Are you getting the basic idea of what is this capitalist? But reduction of wages means low purchasing power at the home, and increasing production would create more demands, more goods than demand. Now let me give you one example. See, how when you will have a money, if you are well paid only you will have a money, okay, your payment, your salary is less, and how about your purchasing parity, purchasing power? Because your savings is also less, your disposable income is also less. Since the wages are very less, the people in the domestic, they are not able to buy the goods because it is cost is more. Okay, see, look at here, but reduction of the wages means low purchasing power at the home and increasing production. So, less wages leads to low purchasing power, at the same time, production of more goods. Okay, there is a supply demand mismatch. There is a more supply, but the people is less to buy this because they don't have enough money in that domestic home country to buy. So now they are in a position to find for the market outside. They are not ready to compromise with the profit. They wanted to find the profit. So instead of selling at their home station, instead of selling at the domestic places, they wanted to sell the products which are produced in excess, which are produced in more. They wanted to sell outside. So selling outside, definitely they are need of markets. Yes or no? Yes or no? So increasing production could create more goods than demand. All European countries followed the protectionist policies to prevent outsiders from selling to domestic market and protect the home industry. So the European nations stopped the import system. No, already I wanted to sell this. So everyone, the European nations, among the European nations, they can't sell the goods because each and every other European nations are also an imperialist nations. So now they have to find the market which is non-imperialist, which is nothing but the colonies. Are you getting it? Because each and every European nations is already an imperialist country. They are following a policy of protectionist policies. Okay. Now, hence there was a need to find the market outside Europe. Why outside Europe? Because majority, all the Western European nations are all imperialist countries where goods could be sold. So, other than outside Europe means the natural inclination towards Asia, African countries were such markets in order to sell the more amounts of goods which was produced, and they also wanted to find the profit. Are you getting it, ma? Are you able to follow? The imperial nation set up the factories there and slowly converted them to the fort. Finally, they interfered in the country's politics to keep other imperial powers out. The domestic industry was ruined and forced to become a consumer of European goods. So, you just remember, India might be in agriculture. We might be forcing on growing on the food crops, paddy, wheat. Okay, these things. When the Europeans entered after the British rule, we have been forced to grow the cash crops, not the food crops, isn't it? Commercial crops like indigo and other things, which has greatly affected our system, and it has also ruined the entire industry. The colonies has been very badly affected because of the metropolitan strategy. The strategy is that they wanted to grow at the cost of the colonies. Okay. The other reasons for colonialism was to protect the interest and investments of the home country, as a weak government in the colonies would not be able to handle the protest, and imperial nations' investments would be lost. Okay. So again and again I am saying the political instability. There is a weak ruling. If the ruling system is weak, if the ruling government is weak, then easily the opposition government can interfere, isn't it? Such like the ruling government, the weak government in the colonies, which has led the hand, which has given a space for the imperialist nations to colonize these. Improvement in transport and communication, very, very important. Improvement road, waterways, railways brought every country within the reach of the industrialized nation. So distance has never been a barrier because of in order to they reduce the distance, they have improved on focusing on infrastructure, construction of a more pakka roads, waterways, railways. The raw materials could be transported easily and efficiently from Asian colonies to the mother country Europe. Are you getting it, ma? Are you getting it? So the raw materials, because the raw materials, it is not there in the imperialist nation, which has to be taken from the colonies. At the same time, the finished goods could be taken from the Europe to colonies. See the sad thing. See the sad thing. Let me draw one diagram. Raw material. Okay. Market. Okay. Now, colonies, imperialist power. I mean, like, let us have the European nations, mother country. In order for the industrial revolution, in order for the industries, raw materials. Where the raw materials? Raw materials from the colonies. Okay, raw materials from the colonies, it has to reach the Europe. So with the use of this raw materials only, they have made the finished goods. They have produced the goods. This finished goods also has to reach the market, that they could not be sold in the domestic place. So the colonies are the place for both the raw material supply and also selling the products. In and out both. See how sad state it is. The raw materials could be transported easily and efficiently from the Asian colonies, to the Europe. Once the raw material is used and it has been turned as a final goods, that final goods also have to be sold in the markets in the colonies only. See, at the same time, the finished goods could be taken from the Europe, again from the Europe to the colonies only. Okay, communications like telegraph could be used to send messages to colonial government and remote control the administration of the colonies. Are you able to follow, ma? Extreme nationalism. What do you mean by extreme nationalism? Now it has kind of an obsession. Initially, they wanted to acquire the colonies in order to establish their industries. They were in need of a raw material. They were in need of a market. They were ready to make the capital, all other things, cheap labor. So these many things were the initial requirements. At one point of time, it has turned as an extreme nationalism, which means colonial become a source of a pride and status. Writers and leaders of countries began to raise the slogans that more colonies should be brought under the control to increase the national prestige. Now, each and every European countries, for example, you just remember France, Britain, Germany. Okay, let us have for Britain, under Britain, if there is a 50 colonies, means France is having in its number only 20. Germany is having under its control only 15. Now, France and Germany, in order to raise their prestige and power, they are thinking that no, I am also one of the European nations. I can't see myself. My prestige is less because Britain is having more number of colonies. So now this has turned as a mad rush and mad race for increasing their prestige. So this is one point of time. Initially, it was a need-based. They acquire the colonies in need base in terms of raw material, in terms of a market and other things. At one point of time, it has turned as a prestige issue. Nation pride and prestige. The colonies were annexed and later more were acquired to protect the existing colonies. England captured South Africa to protect the trade route to India. What is an objective of, in order to, because England has already captured the India, in order to strengthen its hold in India, the way route is South Africa. So now it is in position to acquire South Africa also in order to protect the trade route to India. Are you getting it, ma? Are you getting it? Is this clear? So the colonies has increased the manpower of imperialists as people from the colonies could be recruited forcibly into the armies of the nations. Civilizing mission. This we have already discussed. The imperialists believed that it was the white man's burden to civilize the inferior people. According to them, the white men, the Europeans are superior. the Africans and Asians are inferior people. So they thought that it is our responsibility. God has created us this fair and color. Why? Because we have never committed any sin. See, these people are African. They are dark. They might have committed sin. So because of that only, God has cursed them, punished them, and they are also not advanced. They are not civilized. So it is our due responsibility to civilize, because we are superior. It is our due responsibility to civilize the inferior. And also at the same time, we want to see Christianity as a world religion. Are you getting it? So convert them to Christianity. The missionaries would often go alone into unknown area in the remotest corner and spread the religion in those places. But the missionaries were also followed by traders who looked for opportunities and soldiers sent to protect the missionaries. So this is all an interlinked and interconnected. So in one way or the other, they are trying to exploit the colonies beyond the limit. Okay, initially it was need based. After that, it has turned as an extreme nationalism. It is a prestige based issue. Explorer and adventures. The explorers who travel to many regions and bring back reports on the usefulness of these regions to trade with the home country. Now they are sending people just like a spy action. Explorer, come on, you move to different parts of Africa, you move to different parts of Asia, you just get me the details, how rich the places is, on what basis it is, mineral resources or what resources, natural resources. After gathering all the data from the explorers, now the home country, now the metropolis country will sit and plan how to acquire these places, how to extend their control over these resources region. Okay, the home country would then establish a trading post and soon in pretext of protecting the trading interest, colonize the entire region. This is how they are trying to extend their control. Conditions that favored imperialism in Asia and Africa. How Asia and Africa has fallen to the trap of this debt trap of this imperialism. What was the pushing factors in Asia and Africa? The lack of modern nationalism in such areas meant that people often owed allegiance to the princes and tribal leaders, the government, isn't it? They were showing a loyalty to the princes and the tribal leaders. The leaders were divided and the European took advantage of this. So what is the first incident? Political instability or the weak government, the poor leadership. Can we have the title like this? Can we have the title like this? Political instability, poor leadership, weak leaders, weak tribal leaders, and easily they have been fallen trapped to the Europeans. Europeans were superior in military tactics too. The Asian artisans were skilled, but their techniques were old and only a small number could be produced. The machine manufactured goods were easily dominant over these. So in these are the ways, of course, the Europeans were superior in military tactics. If there is a internal revolt, how these Asian and Africans, they'll come and fight with the sword and spear. What will the European? They use the guns, isn't it? They were superior in military tactics. They also have a good equipments, arms and equipments, but that is not the condition with the Asians and Africans. And Asian artisans, though they were skilled also, but their techniques were old, obsolete technology they use the old techniques and only a small number could be produced. Next, imperialism in China. Of course, we have discussed. Anyway, it is a quick revision. China was a producer of tea, silk and other goods, but there was no market for British goods in China. So the British was so angry with the China. What is this? I'm not able to penetrate into China because China is not opening the ports at all. Okay, so also China had a restricted trade policy, closed economy, closed trade policy, and a handful of ports. Only 2 ports were open for the foreign trade. This has made a tension to the British. Come on, I am not able to sell my products in the China. Somehow I have to find a way. So it is the tactics of the British. The British had to pay a gold and silver for the trade, and so were having a negative balance of the trade. See, the British those days, how was the merchant system? It is like they don't use the money to buy the goods, isn't it? If they want to buy tea and silk from China, the British has to pay for tea and silk gold and silver. Okay. Now, who is the profit? Who has a profit? For tea and silk, the British has to give gold and silver, and then they have to buy tea and silver, tea and silk. Okay. So British is having a negative balance of trade, and China is having a positive. So British is very angry about this trade policy, and hence they started cultivating opium in India. See, what is the role of India here? It is a fight between British and China. Why India is in between? The sad thing is that because India comes under the control of the British, isn't it? Isn't it? So the British forced Indians to grow opium crops, that is the opium, and sold it to Chinese smugglers who paid them in gold. This was used to pay for Chinese imports. This system was favorable to the British but damaged the Chinese morally, both financially and physically. Now China is very much badly affected because of the opium war. Why? Because the people have become a drug addict. At the same time, it is also affecting their economy. So the Chinese government destroyed the opium cargo and attacked the English. English attacked it. Now the war between the China, a small war, okay, between the China and England. The sad thing is that in that opium war, China was easily defeated by the British. Now, only initially there were only 2 ports open. Now the Chinese were forced to open more than 5 ports. At the same time, island of Hong Kong was also handed over to British. However, this didn't end. Do you think that this is the end of the war? No. You can say, ma'am, China is so sad. See, already the people has become a drug addicts because of this smuggling activity of the British. They have sold the opium to the Chinese. They have made, and it also affected their economy. Now they have also opened. They have released the. Initially they had a restricted trade policy. Now they have released that also, and now they have opened more than 5 ports. Apart from that, they have also given island of Hong Kong to Britain. British. Is this over? No, my dear. This is not the end. In fact, the second war was fought that resulted in more ports opening and granting of extraterritorial rights to foreign powers. What is that extraterritorial rights? No foreign citizen would be tried in Chinese courts for crimes in China. If the crime has happened in China within that jurisdiction, it has to be tested by the Chinese court. It is, isn't it? It has to be tried by the Chinese court. But because of this extraterritorial rights, it is not tried by the Chinese courts. Okay, they will be punished only by the English courts. This again is an insulting for China. China also could not impose the tariff on foreign made goods. In detail, we have already discussed this. Now, please go and check this again. Okay. Now, so already China is in the bad shape of condition, bad life stage. Already it has 2 times it has faced badly affected, badly defeated by British. Now the third shock is coming to China. What is the third shock? China had a war with Japan. Why Japan is having a war with China? Because Japan is interested in Korea. Korea was under the control of China. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? So now Japan, that was trying to increase its influence in Asian region, it wanted Korea. Who? Japan wanted Korea, which was strategically located and has a vast natural resources. China lost in the war. So it has waged a war against the China and it easily defeated the China. China lost in the war and had to pay war damages. Its name is called indemnity to Japan. How much? It is like million pounds. Somewhere like they said it was more than 150 million pounds. Now China was in huge loss. It was totally bankrupt, such like that it has given everything. He can't pay the war amount to the Japan. Already it has surrendered Korea. It has given the independence to Korea, but still now it is in the huge financial crunch. It want to pay the war damages to Japan and even surrendered the island of Formosa also with the pretext of helping China. Now the people are saying, the other people who? in the good mask. Who is wearing the good mask? The other imperial power. Okay, see, China, it is in the bad condition because it has to pay somewhere around 150 million pounds or dollars to the Japan as a war damages. Now the imperialist power slowly it is coming. Who are they? England, France, Germany, Russia. My dear China, don't worry. Okay, we are here to help you. We are all your friends. You just forget the past, what it has happened between you and us. Okay, now we will help you, giving a loan to you. This, you take this loan amount and repay to the Japan. Okay, with this pretext only they came inside, with the pretext of helping China financially. The imperial powers like England, France, Germany and Russia gave loans to it in return for privileges of the trade. In return, they have taken China, parts of the China, okay, northern China, the coastal region, so everything they have divided among themselves. This is one incident. Of course, this in detail we have discussed in the last session. Are you able to follow, Ma? Now, Boxer Rebellion occurred in China due to Chinese community being fed up with the corruption in the Chinese governments. Because see, if the internal government is proper, there is a political stability, means the outsiders cannot come and control. Since there was so much of corruption and internal rift is there for political instability, so this occurred during Chinese community. The Chinese people, they have been fed up with the corruption in the Chinese government, interference of the Christian missionaries and increasing foreign interference. All these things has badly disturbed the Chinese community, but this rebellion was easily crushed and led to more damages on China, just like 1857 revolt. What has happened to the soldiers? Can the soldiers accept what all, can the Sipais accept what all the British did? No, at one point of time they outburst. They can't accept to it. They can't. They started reacting back, but anyways, they have been badly suppressed by the British forces. The same thing it has happened in China as well. The Chinese community, the Chinese people cannot accept to the internal problem like corruption and interference of the Christian missionaries and increasing the foreign interference. At one point of them, they started revolting again, but they have been badly crushed and led. This again, it has caused more damages on China. Thus, though China wasn't dominated like India by single foreign power, India only one demon. We were under the control of one devil. Who is that devil? Big B. British. But Chinese, it is not that was not the case with China. It was not dominated by one single foreign power. It had become like a colony because many had an influence in China. Is or no? Are you getting it, Ma? Are you getting it? Sphere of influence. See the China, Sea of Japan. Just you shade it. This yellow color. This region comes under the control of Germany. Why? Because let me say, Japan, this blue color, Hong Kong region, the Sea of Japan, this area comes under the control of Japan. Okay, and Britain and France, Russia, these regions. So because they are trying to help China by giving the loan amount in order to save them from the Japan war of indemnity. Rise of Japan. Japan too was like any other Asian country. Of course, Commodore Perry of USA forced it to open its port to foreign trade. Similar agreements were made with other European nations, but Japan then ended like other Asian colonies. This was due to Meiji Restoration. Okay, Japan is the only under Emperor Meiji. The following reforms were carried out in Japan. You can ask me, ma'am, Japan is the only Asian country which doesn't come under a colony. It has joined the race of imperialists. How it is possible? Such a small country, how it was able to resist the bigger? It was able to defeat Russia. It was able to defeat China. How Japan has become so powerful? How it is possible for Japan to reach that greater heights? Yes or no? Like a phoenix bird. Okay, universalized under the Meiji. He is a new emperor. During his regime, during his rule time, he has given emphasis on education. So I think this is the one glaring incident or example. When you give importance to education, I think we can come up in life in a very greater way, isn't it? verticalized education was one of the reforms. Building the transport and communication facilities was another. Building ports and army, incentivize industry and trade. These are all the methods, like for focusing on education, focusing on infrastructure, transport and communication, building ports and army, strengthening the army base as well, incentivize the industry and the trade. All this made her into an industrial power. One of the most important point, the question is that how Japan has been able to come as reach as a position of industrial power, because during the Meiji emperor, under Emperor Meiji, these were the reforms or the actions taken. Okay, so industrial power, but at the same time elements of imperialism too developed there. Island of Japan was sent with natural resources. It doesn't have much of the natural resources, but still, despite of not having natural resources, it was able to come as an industrial power. And so Japan eyed since it was deficit of natural power, so its inclination naturally turns towards the Korean Peninsula and China. After a brief war with China, which would won due to the adoption of modern military tactics, Korea and Formosa was ceded to it. After the loss, the China has been defeated. After that, it has to surrender the Korea as well as the Formosa, isn't it? Now, Japan also controlled the trade and territory in China. This is one with respect to the China-Japan war. What is the next war? Russia-Japan war. Russia, wow, it was such a big European nation. How does Russia have been defeated in the hands of Japan, such a small Asian nation? Is it possible? It is like the ant winning over the elephant. How? So the entire world turned towards Japan and they started admiring Japan. Yes, Russia and Japan was led to defeat of Russia and capture of Sakhalin from it. Are you able to get it, ma'am? Are you able to follow? Then imperialism in Africa. European nation had begun exploration of African nations during the beginning of 15th century itself. But this was confined mostly to the exterior or coastal region. Initially, they didn't penetrate inside the African continent. They have just touched the borders alone. Okay, it was mostly slave trades or whatever it is. It was only exterior and along the coastal region. Even this context was disastrous for African as a slave trade emerged. From here, the cheap labor, they has been asked to go and work in the other Western imperialist nations. Okay, the Spanish and Portuguese had captured the Central and Latin America and exterminated the local population. So this is one kind with respect to Africa, means what has happened in the Latin America, Central and Latin America. What has happened in Central and Latin America? They came under the control of the other European nations like the Spanish and Portuguese. They have taken the control of Central and Latin America. There was a huge demand for slaves in such region. Hence, Portuguese captured the slaves from the Africa. So, okay, let me give an example. Give me a time. Just a moment. Yes, ma'am. See, two things. Okay, just imagine this is the zone of Central America. Okay, this region, Central America. Now, the Africa, from Africa, they are bringing the trade. So, from here, Central America, see the Spanish and Portuguese. Central America now under the control of SP. Who is that SP? Spanish and Portuguese had captured the Central and Latin America and exterminated the local populations. There was a demand for slaves in such region. Now, in order to extend this place, of course, they are in demand and slaves in such regions. The slaves has been transported from Africa to Central America to work on the plantations on Central and Latin America. Hence, the Portuguese captured the slaves from Africa and took them to the slave market in Lisbon and sold for commodities or firearms. The slaves were taken to Latin America and sold to plantations. Are you getting it, ma'am? The plantations in Latin and Central America are in need of a cheap labor. Now they are getting the labor, cheap labor, by the so-called term slave trade. How? They will sell the goods, like they will sell the arms, they will sell other things like firearms, and they will buy persons on exchange. They will not take it as assets. See, sold for commodities or firearms. The commodities, firearms are not living, okay? But for on exchange, they are getting a living human. That is called the slave trade. So these slaves from the Africa who have been brought for firearms, now they have been sold in the plantation crops. Are you getting it, ma'am? The African chiefs, because the internal tribal leaders, the poor tribal leaders, weak government, weak internal government, political instability, the African chiefs participated in this trade for purchasing firearms of Europeans. So the African chiefs, the tribal leader, they were like, they are in want of more weapons, guns, firearms. Now they are ready to, they wanted to buy these firearms from the Europeans. For exchange, they are selling their own people. They are sending their own African people. How sad it is as a slave. However, this trade has disastrous consequences for Africans. Every month, 5,000 were transported to American plantation and half of them died en route. En route means on the way itself, many of them has died because of so difficult, tedious journey and such an unhygienic condition. So if they are taking 5,000 means hardly 1,000 or 1,500 will reach the plantation in the Central and Latin America. The rest of them all died on the way only. See how sad it is. The slave trade also created a technologically backward Africa to this day. So why Africa still it is a dark continent? Why it has not reached? Why it is in least developed countries? Means the historical error. In the historical past, one of the great human error happened as slave trade, which is having the effects till date. Are you getting it, ma? Are you getting it? Please let me know. Friends, please let me know. Is things are clear? Next, by the 19th century, trade in slaves had lost its importance and had led to start of a second type of exploitation. Now, initially the Africa, they have touched only the coastal regions. Okay. Now, in the second wave of exploitation, now they started penetrating the interior region. Why? The interior regions were explored and war on tribal chiefs were made. Africans were easily conquered as they lacked the unity in diversity. There is a lack in unity. The African chiefs itself, the tribal leaders itself is not good. They are not paying, they are not making an effort to save their people, whereas they are ready to sell their people in order to buy the guns. Okay, so this is one thing, lacked unity and arms to match the Europeans. Even if some resisted, if some of the Africans or the people they resisted means they wanted to fight back against the European means they can fight only with the sword and spear, whereas the European nations they are having a heavy machine guns. Are you getting it, ma? Next, so this is how the Africa, see this region is comes under the Spain and majority this comes under the France and Belgium. This region is comes under the Great Britain. So the entire Africa has been chopped into pieces by the European nations. Okay, other reasons for easy defeat of the Africans was that European nations were united in the conquest. See, all the European nations, they were always busy in expanding on their colonies. If at all imminent danger of war was between them, the negotiation took place and participation of territory was peaceful. The map of Africa shows that most of the boundaries of these nations are straight line as they were partitioned on maps during negotiation. Is this clear? So, what is this? Let me say one plus and minus. What is the plus with the European nations and what is the minus with the African nations? African nations, inside that there was a political instability, there was a poor African tribal leadership and so many other things which has led the European nation to acquire them to extend their control. But that was not the case with the European nation. Though all the European nations were fighting, they were trying to expand their colonies number and group. At one point of time, see here, the European nations, they're united in the conquest. All the European nation idea is to expand the territory and the colonies. If at all, if there is a one difference between, if Britain is also asking for a Morocco, France is also asking for a Morocco, means at one point of them, they themselves go for a negotiation. They don't fight against themselves. See, if at all imminent danger of war was between them, they'll try to resolve it through negotiation. Took place and partition of territory was peaceful. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? If that's why they were able to acquire. So on negotiation, chalo, Great Britain is saying, I want Egypt and this area. If France is asking for something, initially there will be a fight, and after one point of time, chalo, you take this place, I will. Whose place? African nation, they are dividing among themselves. Even if it led to war also, they will not allow that to happen. They will go for the peaceful negotiation and they'll try to settle it down. Are you getting it, ma? Are you getting it? What I'm trying to register? Imperialism in America and Pacific nation. One of the most important, let me say. Okay, are you able to follow? Please let me know. This is an interesting story. United States has gained freedom in 1793 and it had increased its territory by wars on Mexico. The purchase of Florida, Alaska and Louisiana has increased its territory. Fine. Somehow, though it was a late entry, USA, but now it is also, do you remember that open door policy? Where is my share? Okay, Me Too policy. Now USA as entry, it is joining the rush of the imperialist nation. It wanted to extend its power. The short civil war ended slavery, and after 1865, industrialization too increased and made USA a dominant force in the Western Hemisphere. Now, it built the third largest navy, USA, and asserted its right to influence and interfere in the affairs of the neighbors. For USA, who are the neighbors, ma'am? Immediate neighbors. Please let me know. For USA, who are the immediate neighbors? USA is interested on its neighbor, Central Latin America, South America. Yes or no? They are the immediate neighbors for the US. Are you getting it? Are you able to follow? See. Now it is trying to strengthen its power. It built the third largest navy and asserted its right to influence and interfere in the affairs of its neighbor if its trade and investment interests were compromised. The gunboat diplomacy by Commodore Perry had opened Japan for trade and open door policy over China to benefit it. I think you know the story. What this Commodore, he went and spoke to a Japan chief, Japan emperor. Come on, Japan, don't have such a restricted policy. Please extend your ports for others also. So that has fetched him, that has given a positive result, and it is the USA which has raised the voice for the open door policy, Me Too policy with respect to China issue. Now, just like Europe and Japan imperialist elements developed in USA that wanted it to be a leader in the race for colonies. Already a huge race is going for the colonies. Mad race is going. In this race, US is also has joined the race of colonies. The leaders of USA also wanted it to participate in the civilizing mission of uplifting the backward areas of Asia. So one is that the same story, huge mad rush for taking the colonies. Second, another the same concept, superior civilizing the inferior, civilizing mission. Now the story is, what do you mean by Monroe Doctrine and dollar diplomacy? Okay, big stick policy, Monroe Doctrine and dollar diplomacy. Can we discuss this? For sure you can expect this in your exam because the role of USA is very important. Now, US declared that only it could intervene in the affairs of the neighbors and cautioned the Europeans for intervening in the Western Hemisphere. It is saying to the Western European nations, okay, my dear European nations, I am here to take care of my neighbors. Who are the neighbors for USA? Central America, Latin America and South America. Okay, I am here. I should only take care of them. I will only extend my control over them. You need not come and interfere on their role. Okay, it sent its troop if it felt that the events in the Central or Latin American countries were against this investment. It allowed a policy for using investments in these regions as an excuse to dominate them. Are you getting it, ma? Now, was the reason for increasing? Let me see. So, the United States, the dollar diplomacy, which is, let me add this point. Okay, just, okay. This is a value addition. I am doing it from the book with respect to Monroe Doctrine. Okay. What is this, my first one? In 1823. In 1823, President of US President proclaimed the Monroe Doctrine. According to it, it warned the European powers against any attempt. So, under 1823, it is warning the European powers, against any attempt to extend their power, against any attempt to extend their powers. Extend their powers where? In Western Hemisphere. Okay? In Western Hemisphere. This is one. Here again, a new version of, again in 1895. In 1895, Monroe was given a new meaning. There was a territorial dispute. Territorial dispute between Guyana, British Guyana and Nicaragua. Okay, places in Central and Latin America. Nicaragua. The British threatened to send troops to Nicaragua. Now there was a fight between this Guyana and Nicaragua, but now who is interfering on this fight? The British is saying, come on Nicaragua, I will send you the troops and I will smash you. Okay, now the story is that the British threatened to send troops against Nicaragua. Who? British threatening that it will send troops against Nicaragua. Now, who is going to raise a voice now? US. What US is saying? Come on, my dear British. What you are thinking? Who are you to send? Why you interfere in this war? Are you trying to take a control on Guyana and Nicaragua? You don't bother about it. I am here. They are my neighbors. See, look at here. The US government forced the Britain not to send their troops and declare that today the United States is practically sovereign on this continent. Okay, and again in Monroe Doctrine in 1904. What has happened in 1904? Of course, that time the US president is Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt said Britain and Germany has imposed. Now again the West European nation, Britain and Germany imposed a naval blockade on Venezuela. Imposed a naval blockade on Venezuela. Okay, she had failed to repay the loan amount. Why did they face the naval blockade on Venezuela? Because Venezuela, she was failed to repay the loan amount. Now USA had said that, come on, now see the threatening story. Theodore Roosevelt, Britain and Germany has imposed a naval blockade over Venezuela as she had failed to repay the loan which she had taken from them. the US president had forced the Britain and Germany to lift the blockade and declared that United States alone had the right to interfere in the affairs of the neighboring countries. Are you getting it, ma? This is called Monroe Doctrine. Of course, the simple logic of Monroe Doctrine is that USA want to stop the control of Western European nations trying to acquire the Central America, Latin America and things. On 3 incident, it is saying again giving warning. In 1823, the President US is sending a warning against the European powers. Don't make any attempt to extend in the Western Hemisphere. Okay, Western Hemisphere, to extend their power in the Western Hemisphere, like Central, because Central and Latin American initially it was under the control of Spanish and Portuguese, isn't it? That has been later it has come under the control of US. And second, in 1895, there was a territorial dispute between the British Guyana and Nicaragua. Why did the British poke their nose now? The British is threatening Nicaragua. My dear Nicaragua, if you are not going to withdraw, I will send the troop against you. Now US is coming and asking, come on, who are you? Is this your problem? Why you are trying to interfere in this? Why you are sending a threatening to the Nicaragua? You need not interfere on this. I am here to look after because they are my neighbors. This is the second incident. Third incident again, it is happening in 1904. That time the US president was Theodore Roosevelt. There was what has happened with respect to Venezuela. Britain and Germany imposed a naval blockade on Venezuela. Why? Because Venezuela, she can't repay the debt she has taken. Here again, the US is coming and saying, come on, uplift the blockade. Okay, you don't have any rights to do this. I am here to safeguard. So these are the initial, in many instances, his kept on trying to register his presence over the neighboring nations. Is this clear, ma? Is this clear? This is called Monroe Doctrine and dollar diplomacy. This US. So was the reason for his increasing influence in South America. The countries of South thought that had no political freedom but were ruled by corrupt warlords who sold land and exploitation connections to foreign powers for money. The trading companies of USA invested in such countries and successfully dominated them economically. Is this clear? Are you able to follow? Can I move to the next? Of course, we had one more with respect to this Panama Canal that we will do sometimes later. Is this fine, ma? Is this fine? Can I move on to the effects of effects of imperialism? Effects of imperialism? Yes. Imperialism and its effects of colonization damaged the non-industrial world and led to its economic subjugation of the West. The worst effects are seen in Africa that has remained backward till date. Why Africa? What is the historical past mistake done? Do you remember? Slave trade. The African chiefs, in want of the firearms, they have sold their people. Of course, that are still now there was a huge loss. That was the worst effects are seen in Africa that remained as a backward to this day. Yes or no? Are you able to understand? Are you able to understand? Trade and industry of these colonies was destroyed. So second is that the trade and traditional industries and artifacts, everything has been destroyed and hasn't recovered its glorious heights of the past even today. Glaring example is India and China. Yes or no? India has lost all its power or all its prestige, what it had before British conquest, isn't it? The one-sided trade policy of making the colonies a source of raw material and consumer of finished goods had led them to remain one crop economy entirely dependent on Europe for its basic needs. What has happened, ma? In order to do the opium war, in order to do the opium thing, the British has forced India to grow the opium crops in the place of the food crops. Yes or no? The one-sided trade policy of making the colonies a source of raw material and consumer of finished goods had led them to remain a one-crop economies entirely dependent on Europe. So they have replaced the food crops by cash crops and plantation crops. Natural calamities created destruction in these nations every day. So these are all the ill effects of imperialism. Of course, Colonialism implies domination of the people's life and the culture. The main goal of colonialism is extraction of economic benefits from the colony. Colonialism results in control over the life of the natives in terms of socio, political, economic, cultural, in every aspect. It is more subtle, whereas imperialism is more formal and aggressive. Which is more aggressive? Imperialism, isn't it? Historically, two main types of colonialization. Settler colonialism is that type of colonialism wherein a large number of the immigrants, often motivated by religious, political, economic reason, settle in a new place and dominate the local indigenous population in economy, political as well as. Initially there was two kinds. Settler colonialism, the people, they come as a religious preaching, often motivated for religion and other things, but they come as a settler and later they try to dominate the local indigenous population. Okay, that is called settler colonialism. Exploitation colonialism is something, it involves relatively less number of immigrants. Settler, more number of immigrants. Exploitation, there will be less in number and predominantly focus on exploitation of the resources of the colonial country. Thus, colonialism denotes a set of unequal relationship between the mother metropolis, colonial power and the colony, and often between the colonist and indigenous population. Relationship in which the colonies acquire the benefits disproportionately at the expense of the local population. Are you getting it, ma? Are you able to follow? Please let me know. Are you getting it? Next, colonialism, imperialism, and new imperialism. Of course, colonialism, as discussed earlier, denotes a system in which a country conquers and rules over the region. It involves exploiting the resources, mainly economic orientation, economic exploitation, isn't it? It involves exploiting the resources of the conquered country for the benefit of the conqueror. Imperialism means the ability of a state or an empire to exert its influence beyond its border. This influence can be exerted in multiple manners like colonialism, militarism, cultural hegemony, etc. Thus, it can be safely argued that colonialism is just a practice and imperialism is the idea driving that practice. Imperialism is uh, it's more it's more in number because colonialism was initially it is for economic exploitation and it is a kind of a practice, but imperialism, they wanted to build an empire as such, not only in the economic perspective, also in the socio-economic, political, in every aspects, idea driving that practice. New imperialism is such that it refers to a period of the territorial expansion by European powers, the United States and the Japan during the late 19th and early 20th century, which resulted in subjugation of almost all of Africa and parts of Asia. It was distinct from the earlier phases of imperialist expansion known as Old Imperialism. Is this fine, ma? Of course, historically speaking, new imperialism started with the advent of Industrial Revolution. In fact, it was a new strategy of imperialism which was devised by the industrialized countries for maximizing their economic benefits. It contrasts with the old form of imperialism in which colonialism formed the main method of pursuing the imperialist ambitions and goals. Causes we have discussed. Let me check how much is left. Okay. Okay. So, of course, push factors, causes of colonialism, discovery of the new lands and trade routes, economic consideration, this we have already discussed. Mercantilism, the policy of mercantilism was based on the premise that economic development of the mother country, what is the mother country? Metropolis, was most important and the colonies should be governed in such a way that led to the benefit of the mother country. Yes or no? European rivalry. Already we have discussed this point. The exploration and colonization was started by the Spain and the Portugal. Gradually, other countries like France and England also entered the race, acquiring the new colonies, becoming a thing of a national pride. They wanted to add more and more of colonies. This has led to the national pride. Moreover, due to various economic benefits of colonization, a stage of competitive colonialism started among the European. So, initially who? Spain and Portugal focused on Central and Latin America, and later in this group they entered the England and France, isn't it? To spread Christianity. Due to the age of discovery, Catholic Church started a new major effort. Already we have discussed the Christian missionaries' role and with the colonizing efforts. Next is push factors. Of course, the enclosure movement, taking land out of cultivation and converting it into a pasture land for sheep, was creating a surplus population. Sheep raising, more profitable than traditional agriculture, required a few laborers also. For agriculture only we need a more number of labor and more number of land. Okay, so it is a push factor, converting the cultivable land into a pasture land. The new lands in America gave these unemployed a place to work. In Asia, the European met ancient and well-populated societies, and hence direct colonization was not feasible. Rather, armed coastal trading posts along the maritime trade routes such as Goa, Malacca, Macau were established. Nonetheless, in certain areas, both the Spanish and the Portuguese become the effective rulers. Where the control of Spanish and Portuguese. Of course, it has happened in the Central and Latin American. On the contrary, in the Western Hemisphere, the European colonization involved the immigration of large number of settlers, soldiers, and administrators. The result was that colonization in Asia was indirect, while the colonization of America was direct. Very, very important. Okay. Yes, in America directly they have done, but here in Asia it was an indirect. European colonies in India, Vasco da Gama. So explorer, discovery of new sea route to India in 1498, and the process of direct Indo-European commerce. So this is the reason how European colonies in India. Because of the sea route, they found, oh, India is one of the most beautiful resources region. Yes, now they got, initially they entered India as a trading partner for merchant activity. Later on only they have taken the control, isn't it? After seeing all of our weakness. Now, the Portuguese soon set up the trading ports in Goa, Daman and Dayun and Bombay. The next to arrive, of course, it is the Dutch and the English and finally the French. So this is the order. Once it was your previous year's prelim question also. Who advent of the Europeans, who was the first to come? Portuguese and of course the Dutch, the English and finally the French. Okay. P, D, E, F. Is this fine? Now, the internal conflicts among the Indian kingdom, one of the major reasons, lack in unity. Internal conflicts among the Indian kingdom, the technological superiority of the European and financial benefits of the commerce enabled the European traders to gradually gain the political and military influence and appropriate the lands. Is this fine? This is how that's why it is not a direct control. That's why it is called as an indirect control, because directly they didn't try to come and acquire take the rules. Initially they came as a trader and we have given the space for them. We have given the space for them. Yes, you rule it, because we lack in unity and we have so many internal threats. Okay. Although all European powers controlled the various religions of southern and eastern India, ultimately they lost all their territories in India to the British, with the exception of the few outports like French of Pondicherry, Dutch port in Travancore, Portuguese colonies of Goa, Daman and Dayu. Isn't it, ma? This is the story actually how. Impact of colonialism, Columbian exchange. The term Columbian exchange refers to the widespread exchange of the plants, animals, culture, human population, technology and idea that occurred between the New World. Who is the New World? America. Who is the Old World? Eurasia in the 15th and 16th century as a result result of European colonization and the trade. Please go through this. What do you mean by Columbian exchange? Columbian exchange is a term which refers to the widespread exchange of plant, animal, culture, human, technology, idea, everything between two entities. One is the old Eurasia, another one is a new world. Of course, the result of European colonization and the trade. Slave trade, already we have discussed. To effectively utilize the resources, colonizers needed the immense amount of the labor. During the initial years, the European settlers met labor requirement by enslaving the native population. However, the decline in the native population led to importing slaves from the Africa, which emerged as a lucrative alternative. Very sad, slave trade, isn't it? Boost to mercantilism. Mercantilism, in a way, was both a cause as well as the effect of colonialism. Mercantile economic policies was definitely an impetus. Of course, for India and all, they came as a merchants only, isn't it, for trade? Impetus for the start of colonization, but subsequently the benefits due to colonial exploitation further reinforced the ideology of mercantile capitalism and augmented its spread across Europe. As a result, these countries saw a very rapid increase in trade volume while colonies suffered proportionately. Very, very sad. Isn't it, ma'am? Are you able to follow? Please let me know. Fine. Now, difference between colonialism and imperialism. Of course, this is the last slide. In another 5 minutes, I'll complete the topic. Please get ready for the live quiz. Okay. Though both the words underline the suppression, both are suppression. Okay. Other colonialism is where one nation assumes the control over the other, and imperialism refers to the political economic control either formally or informally. In simple words, colonialism can be thought to be a practice. Imperialism is the idea driving the practice. Colonialism is the term where a country conquers and rules over other region. It means nothing but exploitation, isn't it? It means exploiting the resources of the conquered country for the benefit of the conqueror. Imperialism means creating an empire as such. They wanted to extend the control in every aspect, socio, political, economic, expanding into the neighboring regions and expanding its dominance for. Colonialism can altogether alter the social structure, physical and economic. It's quite normal that in the long run, the traits of the conqueror are inherited by the conquered. Very, very sad. Colonialism, a term used to describe the settlement of places, happened in India. Of course, we'll call it as British colonial rule, not as a British imperial rule. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say, isn't it? Colonialism is a term used to describe the settlement of places like India, Australia, North America, Algeria, New Zealand, and Brazil, which were all controlled by the Europeans, whereas imperialism, on the other hand, is described where a foreign government governs the territory without significant settlement. The American domination of Puerto Rico and the Philippines can be cited as an examples of imperialism. Please try to note down the examples of colonialism and imperialism. India doesn't come under the imperial rule. India comes under the colonial, British colonial, isn't it? Whereas the imperialism is the American domination of Puerto Rico and Philippines can be cited as an example of imperialism without a significant settlement. In colonialism, one can see a great movement of people to the new territory and living as a permanent settlers. Though they led a life as a permanent settlers, they still maintain a loyalty to their own country, mother country. Imperialism is just exercising the power over the conquered region either through sovereignty or indirect mechanisms of control. Colonialism, they'll come and settle. They'll British, they were living in India, but they were showing the allegiance and support to the there only, isn't it? isn't it? So, but that is not the case with imperialism. Imperialism is just exercising a power over the conquered region. It is through the control, but they need not come and settle, they need not come and replace you, isn't it? Either through sovereignty or indirect mechanisms. Coming to the origin of the two, of course, imperialism is a longer history than the colonialism. While the history of colonialism dates back to 15th century, imperialism has its origin dating back to the Romans period itself. Very old. The reasons behind the rise, economic reasons. By 1870, it became necessary for European industrialized nations to expand their market globally in order to sell the products that they could not sell domestically on the continent. This we have already discussed. Second, businessmen and bankers had excess capital to invest, but foreign investment offered the incentive of greater profits despite the risk. The need for cheap labor, steady supply of raw materials such as oil, rubber, manganese for steel required the industrialized nations maintain the strong control over the unexplored area. Military and political reasons, of course, you know as such, leading European nations also felt that the colonies were crucial to military power, national security, and nationalism. Military leaders claimed that a strong navy was necessary in order to become a great power. Thus, naval vessels needed the military bases around the world to take on coal and supply. Is this fine, ma? Humanitarian and religious goals, already we have discussed this. White man burden, of course, burden theory. Many Westerners believe that Europe should civilize the little brothers. Little brothers. See, Europeans should civilize their little brothers beyond the seas. According to this view, non-whites would receive the blessings of the Western civilization, including the medicine, law, Christianity. This was inspired from Rudyard Kipling, the white man burden theory. Exploratory, of course. Last slide. They did it for the sense of adventure. Invariably, imperial explorers sought to discover map and claim territory before the imperial competition did, partly for national and personal glory and partly to serve the imperialist goal of expansion. Thus, the conclusion is the consequences of Western imperialist expansion are quite complex and difficult to simplify. The economic effects were harmful, and indigenous people saw a foreign culture imposed on their own. However, the Western scientific and technological progress benefited directly or indirectly the colonized population, resulted in the improvement of health condition, access to education for the native elite, and construction of railways, ports, etc. Is this fine, ma? Yes, please get ready for the much expected live quiz. Yes, ma. I'll share the quiz code. I will share the quiz code 754946. By this, I have completed the world history topic. Okay, 754946. Please join the quiz. Can I? Yes, ma'am. Friends, you have to join the quiz from Unacademy Learning app. Okay, I've shared the quiz code. Please let me know how many of you have joined. Two has joined. What about others? Aslam has joined. Omkar, I think Omkar has joined. Just give me a moment. I'm waiting for others also to join. Jyoti join and others also join. Master Hari, Jyoti, all of you. Srihari is joined. Yes, one more is joined. Yes. The quiz has begun. Okay. 4946. Hi friends. Yes, I'm back. Uh, that's an amazing. The questions was also a little bit challenging questions. It's really surprising and congrats, Srihari. You always give your best in the next also. Reconnection successful. Thank you. So hope you understand how many questions you get exposed doesn't mean that don't get any fear or something that if you're not able to make the questions right, don't worry. It is like it's a kind of how much of questions you're getting exposed to. That is an ultimate because and from every questions you're learning things, many things. And the more questions you get exposed to, it is going to do wonders and magic is in your UPSC prelim. Yes, Hari, as always, I'm happy to see you. You top in the last 10-15 quizzes I have conducted. Majority of the time, you always used to come first. It's really you have a very good skill in prelims, I suppose. So maintain the same, and of course, even more. What about others? Aslam. What about others? I think in some places you were lagging. You were also equally good. Very beautiful question, ma'am. Variety questions. Yes. And Omkar Solarajan for the first time he has taken the quiz. Prithvi for the first time you have participated in the quiz. I think now you will understand. Now you would have realized the importance of quiz. Don't ever miss any quiz comes on its way. Of course, every day I'll try to put one quiz from different subjects. The ultimate objective is that, of course, it's an ultimate revision, and apart from that, you have to get exposed to as many questions as possible. Okay, fine. I'll catch you today. Of course, we have an amazing, effective synopsis for the river clauses. Yes, this is going to be done 8 to 9 and 9:30 to 10:30. Tomorrow again on YouTube platform 2 p.m. Okay, until then it's bye from your GL ma'am. Good luck, good day, bye bye. Stay connected. Thank you, ma'am. Stay blessed. Thank you, one and all.